It is our real pleasure to present today the property and land price indices that track 18 suburbs within Nairobi and 14 satellite towns just outside of it. As I know you all appreciate, our Hass indices are based on the asking prices for sales and for rent, meaning that the patterns of rises and falls run 3 to 6 months ahead of the same patterns in closing prices on completed transactions. Looking ahead at where prices are now moving, there has been a decrease in asking prices in the fourth quarter of this year, with prices for all properties slightly dropping by an average of 0.14%. The annual increase is now just below 10% at 9.52. The drop in asking prices is a result of the sluggish macroeconomic environment that has witnessed corporate layoffs and a slow uptake of credit despite the introduction of interest rate caps. The interest rate cap was poised to catalyze lending, but has failed to live up to its expectations. Loan uptake has not taken off as had been expected, as commercial banks are now more conservative in their lending. This tough economic environment has affected both property in Nairobi as well as the satellite towns. Nairobi's suburbs registered just a modest 0.1% growth in asking property prices across the fourth quarter. Despite the modest growth, there was strong performance, however, in the detached housing market. Typically, detached houses are majorly found in high-end suburbs that tend to be less affected in an economic downturn than the lower end of the market. Detached houses posted an annual 11.3% increase in asking prices. Moving to satellite towns, the average asking property prices were up by 1.5% in the fourth quarter of 2016 and 8.6% for the year ended 2016. And these two are the lowest annual increases seen since 2008. Land prices in Nairobi's suburbs increased 0.8% in the fourth quarter of 2016 and posted just a 5.1% return over the entire year. Again, the lowest annual return in 8 years. Gigiri was actually the best performing suburb, with an average asking price increasing by 3.13% over the quarter, while Donholm was the best annual performer, with average asking prices increasing by 29.28%. Nyeri was the worst performing, recording an average asking price decline of 0.64% over the last quarter, while Isli witnessed the worst annual performance with a drop of 5.58%. Juja recorded the highest quarterly and annual price increase. This is Juja land. The quarterly increase was 6.32% and a staggering 50% over the year. Mlolongo was the worst performing satellite town, with average asking land prices dropping by 1.47% over the last quarter and 15.8% drop over the last year. Expected the interest rate cap to do, or rather I'm guessing even what the government expected to do, was because of the rate reduction, we expected that there would be a bigger uptake of mortgages. What has actually happened is the banks have become a lot more risk averse in their lending. So they're a lot more conservative and their rules are a lot more stringent. So what has actually happened is the rate of mortgages hasn't gone up. I believe that our banks are undercapitalized. They don't have as much, if they were very well capitalized, if they had a lot of funds, they would perhaps think of dropping the rates so that they could play into a more volume market. What I've personally seen in the industry is that a lot of companies, a lot of developers are getting financing internationally at between 4 to 6%. And even getting it at 4 to 6% hedges their exchange rate risk. We saw land prices really increase on the towns that are closer to Nairobi. So we're talking about now Ruiru, Kiambu, the places around Garden City. really increase. But what we're seeing now is the ones further away that had not seen this kind of appreciation just after the highway was complete, now following suit. Even though we've had a sluggish environment, the interesting thing is that sluggish economic environment has affected stocks and bonds more than it has the real estate market. So even though the real estate market has been slightly slow in its in the fourth quarter of 2016, it still beat all of the other asset classes in the market at the moment.